Hi, everyone. John Michael Coppola here, and welcome to the Chicago Theater Makers Podcast, where we chat with the actors, directors, choreographers, designers, producers, music directors, lyricists, playwrights, and all the artists who make the Chicago area theaters come alive. We're so excited to have you here with us today. But before we get started, we just want to remind you to please like, subscribe to, and share this podcast with your friends and colleagues who you think would appreciate the conversations we're having. We'd be so grateful for your support in this way so we can continue to bring these stories for years to come. Thanks again for being here, and now, curtain up on today's episode. Today's guests both appear in the new theater project's production of Blackbird. The site-specific production is staged in the break room at Servi-Sure, a working titanium parts factory in Chicago's Bomanville neighborhood. Todd Wojcik, who plays Ray, is an ensemble member of the Artistic Home, where he earned a Jeff Award nomination for his role in their production of The Pavilion. Olivia Lindsay, who plays Una, is a Chicago-based actor, clown, and artist who also works with Vaudeville Chicago. Be advised that while today's episode does not include adult themes, the play Blackbird does, and our listeners are encouraged to read more about the play before attending. Blackbird runs through November 23rd, and you can find the ticket link in our show notes. I hope you enjoy my conversation with the two-person cast of Blackbird, Todd Wojcik and Olivia Lindsay. Now let's go to the top of the show.
Thank you.
Hi, Todd. Hi, Olivia. How are you both doing today?
Very well. Yeah. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks so much for joining me here on the podcast. We greatly appreciate it. So listen, we start our podcast the same way every episode, and that is to please let our guests know a little bit about where you grew up, a little bit about your background, a little bit about your training, but most importantly, your first theater experience. So Olivia, why don't we start with you?
Well, I'm from San Diego, California. So I grew up doing theater. I grew up going to theater camp. My dad's a graphic designer. So he did the graphic design for this children's theater in San Diego, where I'm from, called San Diego Junior Theater. And I got to go there for free because of that. So, and I grew up doing theater, children's theater there. But I didn't start taking it really seriously until high school. My high school teacher was the real deal. Her name is Courtney Flanagan. She would invite so many people to do master classes with us. Like we did Commedia dell'arte. I feel like she even had us do Meisner. She had us do all sorts of stuff. And then I went to Kenyon College, where I studied more theater. When I was at Kenyon, I went to the Eugene O'Neill Theater Center for a semester, and did a bunch of different stuff there. I got to study with Complicité in London. That was awesome. We did Lecoq movement, which I freaking loved. And then I've studied at the Actors Gymnasium. I did their full year program, and I learned clown and circus arts.
Todd, give us a little bit about your history.
Well, I'm actually from the other side. I'm from Rhode Island, all the way on the other side. And I grew up there until I was early 20s, and then I moved to Chicago. My first theater experience was, I think, like a lot of kids, it was the Christmas Carol at the Trinity Repertory in Providence. That was where that production happened, and I was always just kind of blown away by that as a kid. My mom was the only one in my family who forced the arts on me, and I didn't like them right away, and then I fell into them. So yeah, that was the earliest experience, and then I did theater in high school, and then in college. I got a BA at Rhode Island College, and then the planes hit in New York, and I wanted to move to New York, but then I was like, ooh, I'm not going there. And I wanted to go to a bigger city. And so I went to Chicago and loved it ever since. Did more training in Chicago, did the Conservatory Second City, and took some classes, did a fair amount of improvisation, and then some Meisner.
And Olivia, what was it that brought you to Chicago?
So I graduated college in 2019. And then I was waffling about moving to a city for theater. And I had actually, that same high school teacher had brought us to Chicago in high school and showed us all around, brought us to Neo Futurist, brought us to Second City, brought us all around. And I was like, whoa, this is way cooler than New York. Don't tell anyone I said it. No, but, and so I was like, okay, LA, New York, Chicago, those are the big places people talk about for theater. But Chicago had kind of, it kind of lived in my heart since I'd gotten to visit that first time in high school. So it felt like the place I wanted to be. And I wanted to do storefront theater. I wanted to do that right in your face, storefront, kind of work.
Yeah, well, you can't do that anywhere else but here. I mean, I guess you could try. Tell me a little bit. You had this teacher that had you brought you guys to Chicago here. Would that be one of the more influential people that brought you into the world of theater, or are there any others that inspired you to move here to Chicago, but also pursue the arts?
Definitely her, and Courtney Flan is what we call her. It feels so weird to say Courtney. High school drama teacher. And also I was really lucky in high school. I had this incredible dance teacher. So I'm also a dancer. And she would put on these huge, grand dance shows we would do. We did The Rite of Spring. We did Carmina Burana in high school.
Wow. And
she would always have a very theatrical bend to it. So I think she really influenced me as well, and how I viewed art and what was possible.
Wow, Carmina Burana must be a big repertoire for high schools, because we sang Carmina Burana in high school. I mean, it's a big piece. I don't know why they gravitate toward it for young artists, but there must be a reason. Maybe it's just the challenge of tackling it. I don't know.
So important to Western theater. Who knows? I don't know.
Yeah. Todd, how about you? What about some of the influential people?
I would say there's been a handful at different times. It was my mother to start, for sure. She got me involved and opened my eyes to a lot of things. She was a performer herself in ways. She did sketches and stuff and sang. She still sings in a choir and stuff. Anyway, Diane McNeese was my high school drama teacher who told me I'd be a good teacher one day, and it made me angry. So then I just wanted to act forever. She said, you'd be a good teacher. And I was like, I'm on the stage right now. What? Anyway, her,
wow,
she was fantastic. Bill Domkeller was an actor that was in residence in college when I was there, who did some special intensive stuff, Chekhov and stuff like that. And he really gave me some great words of wisdom and was very nurturing to me, and a very talented guy. And I always used to like to watch him at Trinity. He was a treat. And then Kathy Sambatera here in Chicago at the Artistic Home, for sure, has been a mentor and helped me recognize more craft stuff for myself. So I would say them.
I'm curious now, the teacher that said you'd be a great techer, do you teach?
I think about it from time to time. I haven't taught it yet. I don't know that I ever would. I don't know. I think it would be, I would be going back on a promise I made myself to don't do that, but that's silly.
Fair enough. Yeah. It's not for everybody, even if the skill set is there, the desire.
I think I could do it. I think I would enjoy it too. So that's part of why I think about it, because I think I would like it, but I don't know. Right.
Never say never. We'll be on the lookout for Scott Wojcik and friends studio somewhere. Yeah, everyone's got their own sort of ways of finding character, developing character, building character. I'm wondering what types of tools and tricks of the trade you both use to sort of get into that headspace and sort of embody the characters, particularly not just in Blackbird, but sort of in all of the shows you are fortunate to be a part of. So, Todd, let's continue with you.
I think that's a really hard question for me, because I think I've used a bunch of different things throughout my time, and I think I'm always looking for new ones. I learned when doing Blackbird, actually, Olivia gave me a tool that I haven't used yet, and I'm like, I want to try that as a tool. A memorization tool where the first letter of each line is how you use to memorize your lines. And I thought that sounded like fantastic, and I would benefit from that, and I've never done it that way. So I would like to take the next script I work on and try that. So I'm always looking to do different things. Like technically, there's bunch of breathing and relaxing your body and all things like that are tools, I guess. But there's also improvisation, I think, is a fantastic tool if you're not like a really good improviser and people pay money to watch you be funny, which I think that's hard to do. Anyway, I think tools there's a lot of tools out there, and I think that I want to be able to use them all.
Fair. I got to tell you, improv is something that scares the hell out of me to even think about trying to do it.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, it's funny you say that you've thought about teaching because you think you'd be good at it and you'd enjoy it. I've thought about trying improv simply because it scares the hell out of me. And I know that I really, really should develop that skill because anything can happen in live theater. But I've not.
I think it's essential. I think it's if you do it, I can guarantee you it'll change you in the best ways.
Yeah,
it's so good for you. Okay. So good for your ego too.
Yeah.
For your ego.
That's the number one thing you cannot have to act.
You have to be okay not being funny when everyone wants you to be funny, and it's also great to just be okay with not knowing what you're supposed to do. Sometimes that's a window into great stuff.
Yeah. All right. I guess I'll need to do a little bit more investigating as to when I can start classes. Yeah. I appreciate the vote of confidence. And now, Olivia, I'm curious to hear a little bit about some of the tools you use, given that you have a background in like circus and clowning. I mean, how much of that stuff do you draw on, even for a piece such as Blackbird that kind of is the opposite of anything remotely clowny or circus?
Well, yeah, I approach this work with a very different hat than I do the clown stuff. With something that comes with text, I'll start with the text. My training at Kenyon was very that. Todd's probably going to laugh because we're always being like the text in our rehearsal room. But I really like to go through structurally and look at the very simple things, beginning, middle, and like acting 101 stuff. What is my objective? Mm-hmm. What are the stakes? If I don't get this, what will happen? What is my recognition and my reversal? Like in terms of my objective, it's all very based on Aristotle's Poetics, which is what I learned at Kenyon, which serves me a lot of the time. But then, I'll do all that like mapping of things out, and it's not correct. You can never be correct, but that'll be a nice little entryway in for me. And then I like to be pretty memorized if I can be. I have a hard time doing work if I'm searching for words or like being present, which is for me what it's all about. It's like
over the head of the book.
Yeah. And trying to like meditate through the text with the other person who's with you, so those are my number one tools. The clown stuff feels like it's I'm surely getting influenced by it when I'm doing more straight acting, but I don't necessarily think about those two like they're the same form.
I see. Now you mentioned Aristotle's what did you call it? Aristotle's
Poetics.
I'm not familiar with what that is. Do you mind giving us a little bit more information on that?
Okay, let me brush up my degree real quick.
Yeah.
It's
as much as you can.
It's actually a speech. It's a lecture he made that someone wrote down, and it is what he purported. Were all of the elements that are necessary for theater. So there's action. There's is it like a good man falling to bad? It's very simple. Is it a bad man falling to like getting lifted up? We need lights. We need conflict. It's like all of the elements that make theater happen. And it talks about comedy versus tragedy and what makes those different structurally.
That's fascinating. I can't believe I've never heard of that before, but now give me something else to think about. Improv and Aristotle's Poetics. Two things I need to research after this podcast is done. Yeah. So now, how long have you been here in town, Olivia?
Since 2019.
And Todd, you've been here since?
02, 03, somewhere in there.
Okay. So you've been here a long enough time. You've seen a bunch of other performances throughout town. So I'm curious if there have been any that have really stuck with you to this day. You still think about as being one of the top tier performances here in town.
I just saw Prayer for the French Republic. It was one of the best things I've seen, for sure. I loved that play. It moved me.
At Northlight.
Yes, I loved it.
And how about you, Olivia?
A few things. Okay, one of them is not actually like straight theater. It was this part of the Chicago International Puppet Festival. Have you heard of it?
Oh yeah, I have. They just announced that it's coming back soon. I just saw a big press release about it.
It's incredible. There's people from all over the world that bring their stuff in. I saw this really, really moving piece that was about a chimpanzee. So it was a chimpanzee puppet, and it was about these studies where chimpanzees are raised in human captivity, and they're raised like human children. And so the whole thing was from the perspective of the chimpanzee, and it was just stunning. It was gorgeous. I think there was a New York puppeteer. I loved that, but that's not Chicago, or So on the Chicago side,
it was here, right? Didn't you say it was the Chicago Puppet Festival? Yeah, so it was here, Chicago. That counts.
But Chicago theater that I've seen recently that I really loved. I saw this production called Right Now at Facility Theater over in Humboldt Park.
Okay.
It was just an awesome, small house. Totally. Did you see it, Todd?
I didn't see that one. I've seen some. I saw some Beckett there recently. I think they're great.
Oh, that was fun too. But there was like a freaking they brought a live baby out at the end of the play. I think about that all the time.
Wow. So funny story. Years ago, when my brother and I were just born, my parents were very involved in community theater, and my parents were doing a play called Auntie Mame. And the end of the play, if you're familiar with Auntie Mame, it's also the musical Mame. There's the character of Agnes Gooch, who's the nanny, and she is encouraged by Mame Dennis to go out and live, as she says. So by Act 2, you see she comes back and she's this, sort of matronly looking woman. And Act 2, she comes back and she's gotten herself pregnant. So the director, in all of his wisdom, my mom and dad were both in the show. And for the curtain call, he had the woman who played Agnes Gooch come out with me and my brother in her arms for her curtain call with no pregnant stomach. So it's funny that convention is still used today in some respects. But yeah, and because my brother and I were weeks old and my mom was in the show, and he figured, well, if you can't keep the kids home, can't find a babysitter, let's just put them in the show. So that's funny that someone actually pulled another live baby out.
Is that your first theatrical?
I guess it was my first actual experience. Yes, it is. that I don't think I've ever discussed live. So yeah, that's, and of course I don't remember it, but yes, that would be the first one. I should put that on my resume. Nobody would believe it. So what are some of the biggest lessons or pieces of advice that you've both learned being in the business, either from a mentor or from a fellow cast member?
Do your work. Don't ever go out there and not have your work done.
Love it. How about you, Olivia?
Yeah. I was going to say, be prepared if you can. Be memorized. I don't know. Try to work on yourself so you're a better actor. I feel like the more I work on myself, the better because I think acting is kind of like meditation. So the better I can, and that's you can't really be good at meditate. There's no way to do that. But I don't know. The more I can just silence my own bullshit and be present with whoever I'm with, whether that's with clown, it's with the audience, and if you're clowning with others, but it's very with the audience. But acting, if I can be present with Todd and silence my own thought pattern about what how good am I doing, then I'll be a better actor.
Let's talk a bit more about Blackbird. It's it's quite the heavy subject matter, particularly for today's audiences. There's another immersive production happening in LA right now. They're going to move to off-Broadway for a couple of performances next week. I'm why do you think this play is resurfacing right now? And Todd, let's move it over to you, and then we'll go over to Olivia for the second half.
I think that's a great question. I would venture to say that like there's stuff in our news and stuff that's around this topic that could be a reason, but I think it's more than that. I think this play is not it doesn't side with something too specifically in a way where you're forced to, at least when I read it, forced to like flip back and forth between what you think is going to happen, what should happen, what shouldn't happen, who's right, who's wrong here. But at least from my perspective, at times, obviously there's something wrong the whole time. But I think there's just a lot of people picking sides about things, and sometimes it's just an impossible thing to do, and it's okay to explore something without having to be right. I would just say it's an incredibly compelling story, so much so that I also think that there's a lot of safety happening in the theater, and this is a great play for anyone who's got the guts, the gumption to bring it to audiences right now, because audiences need something as visceral as this. They need something as powerful as this story can be, because I think there's a lot of safety happening, and I think good theater pushes that away, and let's get unsafe for a minute and really look deep inside. And that's what this play does. And we need more like this.
Thanks for sharing that. What about you, Olivia? What are your thoughts on why this play is resurfacing nowadays?
I'd say similar to Todd, what Todd just said. I think there's a lot of theater there has been in the last couple of years that is very maybe like the last 8 years. It's very like tells you what the answer is. It's like it wraps it up in a nice little bow for you. And doesn't really let the audience like decide for themselves or learn. Doesn't let the audience decide or learn for themselves, or just didactic work that it treats the audience like they aren't as intelligent as they could be. And I think this piece really combats that. It doesn't give you any answers. It's not necessarily condoning. It's not condoning, but it's also, it's saying how hard it is to be a person. And I think people really need that right now, because there's a lot of like, are you a good person or aren't you? Are you donating to this cause? What's your cause? Things are so messed up in the world. And so like, I think it's weird because it's such a difficult piece to confront, but I think it really does comfort the audience because it lets them say, oh, things are really complicated. Like victims of abuse have complicated feelings, and that's really hard to reckon with. And people often just want it to be as simple as, yeah. So I think right now, politically, socially, in so many different ways, people are responding to people being real with them and not being like, who'd you vote for? That means I'm going to know who. It's just like just making all these assumptions about each other.
So please let us know how the journey has been for each of you, emotionally, creatively, through the journey of Blackbird, because it's, as I mentioned earlier, it's a pretty heavy piece. I'm sure there's been a lot of, I don't know if there was a lot of table work to sort of, figure out where this was going to take you both. So Todd, why don't we start with you first?
Yes, a lot of great table work and a lot of some trepidation, playing, I think, telling a story about this subject that deals with this subject requires, I think, a leap of faith and trust in the people that you're doing it with, to know that you're going to make choices and tell the story in a way that is the most compelling and the most direct way you can. without it's not about being careful. It's about honoring the script, because it's a heck of a script, but it deals with a topic that's it's uncomfortable for a lot of people. So playing in that zone, there you have to trust.
And Olivia, how about you? How's this journey been for you?
I've definitely learned a lot about myself as an actor. It's been difficult. It's been really difficult trying to learn how to hold the given circumstances of the play, which are so particular. So it's not like, I know a lot of actors use substitution, which is when you use something from your life that is somewhat related.
Yeah.
And I've done a little bit of that with this process, but it's just, I've had to rethink a lot of my process and just try different things for this one, because it's so, like Todd said, honoring her and his story, but especially her story going through what she went through. It's I don't know, it's just been a very delicate balance, but also you can't be afraid. You have to be super, super generous and giving with yourself as a person and an actor, both in the room and in the performance. I'm also trying to do maintenance and go home and leave it at the theater, which I've never had to think about so much.
I imagine. Now, what do you hope audiences take away from this production?
Kind of similar to my answer for why I think people are doing this show right now, or why it's relevant. I hope people can see this story and realize that things aren't as black and white as they appear on paper or in headlines or in wherever, and that people can try to treat each other with a little bit more humility and grace. Yeah. I'm not condoning what happens in the story, but I do think that it's honoring how painful life is and can be. And I think it's a great practice to honor other people's pain and suffering and take it seriously. So I think that's something you could feel leaving this.
Todd, what do you hope audiences will take away from the production?
That's a great question. I feel like I think they'll take away a deeper sense of humanity, as any good play would do. A deeper sense of empathy for anyone involved in this type of relationship, and more understanding of the kind of trauma it does to people.
Well, as we all have sort of alluded to, the play does have adult themes. So I want to tell our listeners, well, we did not divulge a whole lot of context of the play. You should be aware that the play does contain adult themes. You might want to do a little research on the history of the play, should you decide you want to go see it. And I hope people do, because I think it is an important story that we should be telling these days, as you both refer to. We can't just always do the happy stuff that gets handed to us on a plate. We need to have people feel some of the other feelings sometimes, and that's okay. And I'm glad that you guys are part of the production bringing that forward. Tell our listeners where they can find you both online. Todd?
I'm on Instagram, Todd Wojcik on Instagram.
Great. Yeah. And Olivia, how about you?
Yes, I have a website. It is olivialindsay.com. And then I'm on Instagram as Adult Who Knows What She's Doing.
Is that the full name? Adult Who Knows What She's Doing? I love that.
That's me.
Fantastic. Well, listen, I want to thank you both for being on the podcast. I'm hopeful that I'll get to come see it closing weekend. For those of you listening, again, the ticket link for Blackbird will be in our show notes. And Lindsay, Todd, thanks again for being here. Really appreciate it. Thanks for joining us at the Chicago Theater Makers Podcast. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. The Chicago Theater Makers Podcast is a production of Spirit Art LLC, and our podcast theme music is by Paul Langford. If you or someone you know would like to be a guest on the podcast, please drop us a note at our website, ChiTheaterMakersPodcast.com. That's ChiTheater, makers with an S, podcast.com. We hope you enjoyed spending time with us as much as we enjoyed spending it with you, and we'll see you on the board soon.